As we continue to work our way through the Jaguars defense, we got to talk about the big guys up front that kind of free up everybody else to do what they need to do. Justin, the Jaguars defensive line has a lot of guys, but I don't know if they have that superstar in the group.
I definitely don't think they have the superstar. It's kind of been a work in progress with that defensive line. You know, you've got to have that girth on there, and they've got some bodies down there, but just kind of guys to me. They don't have that. I mean, nobody has an Aaron Donald type with the Rams, but they need that guy on the line that can provide that boost. And pass rush, run stopping, it's got to come from somewhere. And they've got some bodies on the line, just as you said, not the guy.
All right, let's start with the guy behind you, Deshaun Dixon. He's a guy that's interesting to be in this defensive line group. Last year, he made the Jaguars roster as an undrafted free agent out of Norfolk State as an outside linebacker. But now he's making the transition this offseason. Doug Peterson says he's bulking up because he's trying to play that DeJuan Smoot type of role, the down lineman joining that still stands up and plays a little bit out on the edge. Dixon, an interesting player when we start to break down that Jaguars roster because of that position versatility and the athleticism that he brings to the position. And they liked him enough to keep him on the team last year, and he didn't play much.
That's true. And again, you see something you like in the guy, you move him up from that crowded linebacker spot to defensive line where there are some openings. To me, DeJuan Smoot is a huge missing ingredient. He's not back as of now with that torn Achilles as he still recovers from that. But again, you're talking about a guy, Deshaun Dixon, younger in his career. They kept him on the roster last year for a reason. They moved him into the defensive line this year. Yeah. Again, there are spots available on that defensive line for someone to emerge during training camp.
All right, a couple of guys that definitely won't be fighting for roster spots this year. And one guy that's a huge ingredient for the Jaguars defensive line, Devon Hamilton. Hamilton had a big year last year. Jaguars rewarded him with a new contract this offseason. He's the kind of run stuffer in the middle of that defensive line, but he brings a whole lot more than just that.
Yeah, and he's been a great story, the draft and develop kind of guy. You know, he's become a guy in Jacksonville. You've got that second contract. He's making big bank as a very rich defensive tackle now, and you'd like to see a little bit more from him, maybe from the pass rush perspective. He is a very good against the run, a run stopper. But I want to see a guy on that defensive line become that sack guy in the defensive line. Get in there, do a little bit more against that quarterback, making him get out of that pocket, and maybe have that a little bit more of that pass rush from those guys.
When we look at that defensive line room, if there was going to be a guy that really provides you that pass rush, it's got to be Roy Robertson-Harris, right? I mean,
got to be.
Toward the end of the season, he really turned the light on, started getting more pressure, started getting in the backfield more. Jaguars reward him with a new contract this offseason, and if there's going to be a guy that's going to give you what you're looking for, it's got to be him.
It's got to be Roy Robertson-Harris. There was thought about Roy Robertson-Harris being a cap casualty in the offseason, and they made waves when they signed not only Roy Robertson-Harris to an extension, but Devon Hamilton to a major extension. Jaguars love those guys. They love those success stories. But Roy Robertson-Harris coming back was a little bit of a surprise to me. But I do think, I agree with you, that the pass rush, if it's coming from one of those tackles or the defensive end, it's going to be Roy Robertson-Harris.
The Jaguars have a solid group on the defensive line. Guys that are going to get the job done. Maybe not the flashiest way they'll get it done, but they'll get the dirty work done that you need to hopefully free up some of those other guys, Josh Allens of the world, the Trayvon Walkers, to go and get the sacks and make the flashy plays.
Yeah, right. You know, you don't have the Marcel Darius kind of type, that big, massive defensive tackle, when the Jaguars added him in that midseason trade with the Bills years ago, and he became a very important piece on that defensive line. You don't have any Marcel Dariuses on there, but you've got a Devon Hamilton who is still ascending. You've got a Roy Robertson-Harris, still got some tread left on the tires. So, again, I think that is a group with some potential and some growth area for sure.
We'll be keeping an eye on all of these guys once training camp rolls around. When training camp does start, don't forget, your best way to keep up with all of it right here with us on Channel 4. That'll do it for sports.